If there's one relationship that every Raising KENAN fan is watching closely right now, it's the one between Breeze and KENAN. At first glance, it looks exactly like what KENAN has always wanted. Breeze respects him, gives him responsibility, includes him in important conversations, and treats him like an equal instead of a kid. Compared to Rack constantly trying to control every move he makes, Breeze feels like freedom. But what if that's exactly what Breeze wants KENAN to believe? I have a theory that could completely change the way we look at Season 5. I don't think Breeze is building KENAN into his partner. I think he's quietly building him into the perfect weapon. And once KENAN has served his purpose, Breeze may not hesitate to sacrifice him. If you've watched the Power Universe long enough, you already know one thing. Nobody reaches the top by being loyal forever. Every major player eventually chooses power over friendship. Ghost betrayed KENAN. Tommy betrayed Ghost. Dre betrayed everyone. Even Rack has manipulated the people closest to her whenever it benefited her business. Why should Breeze be any different? Let's start with what we've actually seen. Since Breeze entered the picture, he's done something that Rack never could. He made KENAN feel important. Instead of barking orders, Breeze listens. Instead of talking down to him, he asks for his opinion. Instead of treating him like a child, he treats him like a businessman. That's dangerous, because manipulation works best when it doesn't feel like manipulation. Breeze understands something Rack never truly accepted. KENAN doesn't just want money. He wants respect. He wants ownership. He wants to believe he's finally making his own decisions. And Breeze is giving him exactly that. Or at least that's what KENAN thinks. When Unique warned KENAN not to trust Breeze, it wasn't just another conversation between two criminals. It felt like someone who has spent years reading people recognizing a pattern before everyone else. Unique has survived because he knows how predators operate. He knows they don't always attack immediately. Sometimes they recruit. Sometimes they mentor. Sometimes they make you believe you're family. Then one day you realize you've become disposable. That's why I don't think Unique was simply trying to save KENAN. I think he recognized Breeze because he may have once been exactly like him. Now think about Breeze's position. He's trying to build something much bigger than a neighborhood crew. He's making moves that involve Stefano, bigger suppliers, and larger territories. Those kinds of operations always attract attention. Police attention, federal attention, rival crews, and internal betrayal. Someone eventually has to take the blame. Who better than the ambitious young guy everyone already expects to become the next kingpin? If something goes wrong, KENAN becomes the perfect fall guy. Young enough to take the heat. Hungry enough to take risks. Experienced enough to believe he can handle anything. This isn't just business. It's positioning. One thing that stood out to me during episode 2 was how quickly Breeze started inserting himself into KENAN's decision-making. He isn't just giving advice anymore. He's shaping how KENAN thinks. That's what real mentors do. But it's also what master manipulators do. They don't control your actions. They control your thinking. Once they accomplish that, they don't need to give orders anymore because you'll make the decisions they wanted you to make in the first place. Look back at Ghost. Ghost constantly believed he was making independent choices. But nearly every major decision in his life had been influenced by someone else. Sometimes it was Tommy. Sometimes it was Tasha. Sometimes it was Angela. Sometimes it was KENAN himself. Power has always been a story about influence, not force. And Breeze understands influence better than almost anyone. There's another detail that I think many fans are overlooking. Breeze has been remarkably calm. Almost too calm. Everyone around him seems emotional. Marvin is consumed by revenge. Rack is scrambling to rebuild. Unique is trying to protect his family. KENAN is still grieving. Meanwhile, Breeze rarely loses control. That tells me he isn't reacting. He's planning. The people who make the biggest moves in the Power Universe are usually the ones nobody notices until it's too late. Ghost did it. KENAN did it. Rack did it. Stefano certainly does it. Breeze appears to be following that exact blueprint. Now here's where the theory gets even darker. What if Breeze actually wants KENAN to destroy his relationship with Rack? Not because he hates Rack personally, but because isolated people are easier to control. Think about it. If KENAN completely cuts ties with his mother, who does he have left? Lulu is gone. Marvin is distracted. Jukebox is dealing with her own pain. Unique is becoming more distant. That leaves Breeze. One trusted voice. One mentor. One leader. That's incredibly dangerous. Because the less support KENAN has, the more dependent he'll become on Breeze. It's a classic strategy. Remove the alternatives. Become indispensable. The more I think about it, the more I believe Breeze isn't simply building a criminal organization. He's building loyalty. Personal loyalty. The kind that makes people ignore obvious warning signs. And KENAN has always struggled with trusting the wrong people. He trusted Detective Howard. He trusted Rack more than once. He trusted Famous. Now he's placing that same trust in Breeze. History tells us how these situations usually end. There's also Stefano. Stefano may act like Breeze is just another businessman, but I don't think he's fooled. The mafia survives because it constantly evaluates people. Stefano isn't interested in personalities. He's interested in results. If Breeze fails, Stefano will replace him without hesitation. That pressure could force Breeze into making increasingly ruthless decisions, including sacrificing people close to him. Would he sacrifice KENAN? Think he would. Not because he hates him. Because successful criminals often separate emotion from business. And that's exactly what makes them dangerous. Let's talk about Unique again. There's a reason the writers had him warn KENAN. Television rarely includes dialogue that doesn't matter. That warning is likely setting up something much bigger later this season. Imagine episode 7 or episode 8. Everything falls apart. Police close in. A shipment disappears. Somebody gets killed. Breeze points the finger at KENAN. Suddenly the warning Unique gave weeks earlier comes rushing back. That's classic power storytelling. Foreshadow first. Reveal later. But here's another possibility. What if Breeze isn't trying to kill KENAN? What if he's trying to create the ruthless version of KENAN we eventually meet in the original Power series? Think about every lesson he's teaching. Never hesitate. Never trust completely. Always think ahead. Always choose survival. Those aren't just criminal lessons. They're survival lessons. Maybe Breeze genuinely believes betrayal is necessary. Maybe he thinks the only way KENAN becomes strong enough to lead is by experiencing devastating betrayal firsthand. If that's true, then the betrayal itself becomes the lesson. As twisted as that sounds, it fits perfectly within the Power universe. Nobody becomes legendary without losing something. Ghost lost Angela. Tommy lost Ghost. Rack lost Lulu. Marvin lost his peace. Jukebox lost her innocence. Perhaps KENAN's defining loss will be discovering that Breeze was never truly on his side. There's another angle worth considering. Breeze may already know that KENAN has ambitions beyond being someone's soldier. That's obvious. KENAN wants ownership. He wants influence. Eventually those ambitions will threaten Breeze himself. So maybe Breeze's long-term plan is simple. Keep KENAN close while he's useful. Remove him before he becomes competition. That's exactly how organized crime often works. Potential rivals are either absorbed or eliminated, rarely allowed to grow independently. If Breeze sees KENAN's future before KENAN sees it himself, eliminating him early becomes the smartest business decision. Now imagine how heartbreaking that betrayal would be. After everything KENAN has gone through with Rack. After all the lies. After finally believing he'd found someone who respected him. He discovers it was another manipulation. That kind of emotional damage doesn't disappear. Changes people forever. And maybe that's the entire point. Maybe Season 5 isn't just telling us the story of KENAN becoming smarter. Maybe it's telling us the story of KENAN losing the last pieces of trust he had left. By the time we meet him in the original Power series, KENAN trusts almost nobody. He expects betrayal. He manipulates before being manipulated. He strikes before being attacked. People aren't born that way. They're made that way. And Breeze may be the man who finishes that transformation. Whether Breeze truly betrays KENAN or simply forces him to grow, one thing feels increasingly certain. Their partnership isn't built to last. The student always becomes a threat to the teacher. The apprentice eventually wants the throne. And in the world of Raising KENAN, there are only two ways that story ends. Either the teacher dies, or the student learns betrayal is the price of power. If my theory is right, then Season 5 isn't just building toward another gang war. It's building toward the moment KENAN realizes that the man he admired the most was quietly using him from the very beginning. And if that happens, don't expect KENAN to forgive him, because we've already seen what happens when someone betrays Stark. They usually don't live long enough to regret it.